In the bottom left of inside and outs, it is Ragnarok.
And in the upper right on the gold side of the ticket, he is for Onside Gaming, the recent GSL finalist. It's Maru. So I know, ZG, that we've had much has been made of Maru's turtling. I mean, we had TLO saying it was going to be over 47 minutes in Maru Ratata last week, but of course that was never going to happen. What do you think? Well, actually, we're talking about long games all we won. We got an early pool coming out this game one.
Could just be for the feared Maru 2 racks, especially since that is, I don't know, still something that Maru does a lot in online competition. At one point in Maru's career, I don't know, 2015-ish, I want to say that every time he played in online tournaments, and not even just, I don't know, like an open cup or something, right? We're talking like IEM qualifiers, something that he would really want to get into. He would just 2-racks every single time. You would be so excited to cast a Maru series. You'd be given this golden egg, and then this egg would be 6 minutes. And you're like, okay, I guess we have an hour downtime. So it's still one of the more fearsome things from him, but not that you can't turn it into a 6-ling pressure, I suppose. But with an SCV scout, it's kind of gonna look weird. It's not gonna look too good for Ragnarok.
Yeah, not a lot of pressure available to him. Maru's just going to know to keep the Reaper at home, or sometimes we see him try to intercept, but this is inside now. So there we go. Lings are going to get scouted. Maru now knows exactly what's happening, and hash timing, well, it just confirms the thing that Maru already know. But he does know that this is not going to be some sort of crazy one-based all-in. And you know what? Honestly, that's a good scout against Ragnarok. Ragnarok is known for his proxy hat shenanigans, just a bunch of really bonkers aggressive play. So knowing that that is not on the table, well, means Maru's just gonna be a little happier.
As of this moment, I would even be more afraid of Ragnarok being the aggressor, the all-inner, than Maru. But I think they both are equally capable of it. As it goes, Ragnarok, not going to be too happy about being completely nullified, really. Just going to have an unoptimal opener. As Maru goes for Reaper Marine into CC. He's getting a second gas, so no fast 3Cs here. CC here. Got so used to it watching Killazur. But yeah, what does that mean exactly? Could be Banshees. Could be even a Battlecruiser build, as we've been seeing it more and more often, feels like in the last 2 weeks. Or it could be a Widow Mine. Some type of drop.
There we go. Widow Mine on the way. At the very least, there's going to be one. And that's not something we see an often in the early game. I mean, sure, you get maybe one defensive Widow Mine, but even then, not all that much. But there was a time when these Widow Mine openers were rather popular against Zergs. We saw Cure doing that back in King of Battles 1, I think it was, when he took down both Raynor and Cyril. And then, of course, there are other options. But for now, it's just going to be that singular Widow Mine early ZG. Maybe looking for a little pressure, look for a little defensive option. And hey, behind that, Hellions are going to be on the way, something a little bit more standard. As yeah, looks like it's going to be a 4, 5, 6 Marine, 1 Widow Mine drop coming out from our Korean Terran.
Very interesting to get the 1 Hellion. You know, I feel like Beyond made it a bit popular to go for more drop-based openers, even though I'm sure all the Terrans were experimenting with it around a similar time. It just became so synonymous with Beyond for a little bit, especially around Katowice. But actually, kind of speaking of that, I mean, that there is a Beyond build that goes into a Battlecruiser after this. It's actually kind of tricky. So, it is possible it can do this. Yeah, well, now Ragnarok knows about it, but he won't know what's coming up behind it.
Ooh.
And it is actually going to be a Raven, so multiple forms of pressure, and the Hellions are actually going to be able to clear up creep. They're not just going to be finding creep already settled and going, oh, okay, I guess we missed that opportunity. This could be a lot of... It would seem it looks like little bits of damage to Ragnarok, but they really add up over time.
There's a really cool idea here from Maru as well. He knows that there's not going to be any sort of roach pressure on the map, right? Because he saw the early pool, then he saw no roach follow-up, which generally you're not going to go into like 37 drone roach timing off. That one is Widow Mine from downtown. It's really not going to get the lings that Maru has been searching for. So picks up, runs away. But because there are not going to be any roaches on the map, the Raven is going to be a lot more effective. You don't need the Banshee for anti-ground type of setup, so Hellions now into the third base, looking for a little bit more. Lings, though, on the surround here. Maru has the overstep a little bit. Looks like that answer is yes. Lings are going to go down, sure, but the Hellions, the Reapers, they're all dead. Maru's map control now lacking just a little bit.
Well, with that many Hellions, he clearly wasn't really planning on abusing the Hellion Raven thing so much, even though I think that could have been a plan. But rather was directing this Raven to go for more of the drone kills, the auto-turret harassment. But yeah, it still means that there's not really cohesion with Maru's opener, where I feel like in a very ideal world, there's a drop, with a Widowmine still alive too, he just didn't quite get the pick up on that. There's a Raven, and there's Hellions, of which could pair up all together, pair up 2 out of 3, or be 3 individual attacks, all being a little bit annoying. So now I guess we do have a little bit of a pairing up, so a little bit of creep spread's going to be cleaned, but it's, I don't know. It wasn't going to be the biggest deal anyway. It's like a Hellbat attack, right? We're expecting big money or it's just useless. But I still would have expected more little bits of damage, something that really annoys Ragnarok.
Well, I mean, I guess part of this is the fact that Maru has been extremely conscientious with his units because he is going for a +1 5 racks all in behind this. No third base on the way. He's got those 4th and 5th down. Stim is done. Combat shields are going to be on the way, timing out with that +1. So really, this game feels like a lot of shades of TVP, really, is kind of how these builds tend to go. But Ragnarok, for now, is going to force that drop back, establish his creep a little bit more. He doesn't have a ton of creep outside of the 4th base, though, and it looks like that is where Maru is looking to hit. Now his army is coming together. We see that big blop of gold on the map. The question, though, is, DG, has Ragnarok identified what's happening here?
No, not at all. Going up to 74 drones, adding on drones while the attack is coming in. I would say definitely not. He might still be able to hold if he can keep the Terran force off of his actual hatchery for a little while longer. Then he might be able to get enough units, but yeah, I don't believe Ragnarok was anticipating a 2-base build. He was worried about trying to beat Maru in more of the macro game, I guess, more into the mid game. Gonna try and get a wraparound, but a lot of the Banelings have already been killed. Actually, not getting that target fire on the Banelings in the first place, but plenty of time to do it afterwards, and Ragnarok just needs that Baneling speed to finish so desperately.
And he does 13 seconds until he can actually take a fight, but Maru already taking the first good one, and a couple more Banelings are going to get targeted down here. Queen's now onto the low ground looking to try to deal with this, and there we go. Baneling speed is done. This is Ragnarok's timing. If he's got 1, 2 tanks, 3 tanks, they're sieged up, and he got to go through that choke, but he does not want to go find his way in through there. All the Banes go down, all the Lings go down. Now the Queens continue to fall. Ragnarok, a victim of regicide in this game number 1. He's going to try to do a little bit more, but that is not going to be enough. Maru, weird build. He takes game 1.
I do believe it was an effective build as far as keeping Ragnarok's thoughts on the forefront, on his side of the map, and less so on Maru's side of the map. Obviously, there's also a bit of that Overlord clear-up that came along with the build, so that was also cool. But one Overlord doesn't necessarily stop all Zerg scouting, right? A Ling could have gotten into that natural base, maybe still at the front, only had 1 engineering bay. It's usually the case when it goes for a 2-base build. Maybe the Ling could have just been there to see the move out entirely, and that would have at least been 20 extra seconds of notification, so he doesn't build those extra drones, which I feel it's going to be very difficult to hold without typical hooks, but it still means that he would have been prepared a little bit more, and he just wasn't. There was a lot of intention to try and get as much of an economy as possible, not so much on the army at that particular time. Maru took advantage of it.
It really did feel like Maru was playing against his reputation in that game. He goes and he's got junk on the map early, but doesn't get all that much done. And then Ragnarok, as you're saying, he's trying to get his eco as far as ahead as he can because he knows how scary Maru is in that mid-late game. And coupled with the fact that this is a Raven opening, which would kind of make you think that this is going to be something greedier, something more tech-heavy. Into the mid-game, you hit him with 5 racks and say, hey, you know what, here we go. It's a little bit different, something a little bit different for you. But Zombie Grub, we're going to be moving into Moondance on our second map. It's a map that actually, funnily enough, is shorter, but it doesn't play that way.
It is the shortest. In the top left is the yellow Terran for Onside Gaming. It is Maru.
In the bottom right now, into the purple, looking to send us to a map number 3 for Alpha X, the Ender of Worlds, Ragnarok.
Actually trying to look back at the replay or the delay of the stream to see if maybe the engineering bay was on the front. And yeah, I believe it was. A slightly bigger structure, aside smaller structures, I think points to that. And the reason that I'm making sure that is the case is that that would actually be a pretty big tell to it being a 2-base build. I'm sure there are occasions where a Terran player purposefully or even just coincidentally only gets like one engineer bar in the front because they're just in a hurry, or they are very purposefully faking out their opponent, but and it's usually one of the bigger signs. And it's just that Ragnarok really had nothing in the middle of the map, on Maru's side of the map. He had an overlord to the left where you're not even guaranteed to have a Terran take a third CC. You know, they could have taken the triangle one for sure. So it just was a lot of lack of scouting. Ragnarok certainly falling into the expectation trap, either because of Maru the player or because of that Raven opener. I think you made a great point.
And look how paranoid Ragnarok is in this game, game number 2. That drone lost, what, a solid 45 seconds of mining time, just looking for every possible 2-rack situation. And that's kind of the scenario that Maru builds. You talked game 1 about how he just loves to put buildings on the map that probably should not belong there. But as I say that, it is a very quick third base now that Ragnarok has unlocked for himself by knowing that, hey, there's not a lot of early aggression.
Yeah, certainly. That's going to be no gas for a long time from Ragnarok. Maru is checking to make sure that it's not, once again, a pool first, or that it is not a proxy hatch, since that is something we do have to worry about with Ragnarok. But does not check any farther than that. Doesn't see what's up in the main base, doesn't see if the third base is being taken, the back third base, that is. And certainly, not only is Ragnarok's actual opening build here a little off from the expectation of ZVT, the actual map expectation for a lot of Zerg players is not to take that back third base. That's their safe base. Maybe they don't even get it until they're going up to the 5th or even 6th. So, yeah, not going to be predicting it, perhaps. Maru might be a little confused for a hot second once his Hellion gets across the map and sees, okay, it's not going to be a third hatchery, or so that I can see. But then he should be able to figure it out pretty quickly afterwards, especially since link speed's not even going to be existing, right? It's going to be like, okay, I know what's going on here. So this first link, not quite that tell, even as it is still slow. But it is going to get a nice scout for Ragnarok. It's going to see a very similar opener to last game. Just no Widowmine.
Yeah, but yeah, Widowmine didn't really get all that much done anyways. Now actually no, we will have speed getting started. So this is going to be about a 4-ish minute speed finishing up here, which is, hey, it means you're still able to deal with any sort of Hellion aggression for the most part. Looking at this opener though from Ragnarok, I was kind of anticipating some sort of roach play. Yeah, it's Moondance, and if the Terran decides to take the pocket third, it's a little hard to push through, but short rush distance, and if you do delay gas, you do delayed speed that long, that does seem like something that will be viable. But we talked, Zombie Grub, about how this is a build where Maru has not gone for the Widowmine. He's still getting that early medevac. He still wants to put some level of pressure on the map. And how many Hellions do we... Okay, no, it's just a bunch of Marines, actually. So not a lot of Hellions. Not like this is going to be some sort of weird Hellbat timing. No. And that scout actually is going to be really nice from Ragnarok. He sees, okay, that's a little bit more Marines early than I would expect.
I do believe that Ragnarok's first Ling was able to tell this is the openers. The amount of Marines are available and only one Hellion. I think he really was hoping to try and get the Starport Scout, actually, with that Overlord. I think he was trying to time it out with a pickup of Marines on Medevac, so they could get in and see if it was going to be... I mean, hell, if the Marines were entirely gone, he could have gotten entirely into the main base and saw the extra barracks coming down faster, or third CC, or even if it was a fusion core, you might have been able to see that. But in this case, had he timed it out perfectly... Oh, a Ling gets in anyways, actually, so whatever. He was going to see that it was 2 extra barracks really quick. Maru's doing the same exact thing. Sansa Widowmine, but pretty much exact same thing. So Ragnarok's going to be so much better prepared on so many levels. He's had so much better scouting throughout this entire game, and his opener was greedier compared to one of the least greedy openers Zerg can realistically do outside of a 12 pool last game, when it was a pool first. So, I think Ragnarok should be as well set up theoretically as possible, but execution is still a very big deal.
That, of course, it is. Now, Ragnarok, the downside of taking that pocket third is the fact that his creep spread is not going to be quite as developed as it might otherwise be, which is going to be incredibly important as Maru looks to go for this pressure. But you talk about the build being the exact same, major deviations, EG. Third base is on the way on the pocket as these Marines, the Hellions, the Raven, all trying to just deny creep for the most part here. But Maru, he's not going for that 2-base all-in, not on this map, although he's in a great position to deny this 4th.
That's a really great changeup, I think. Maru was so completely scouted, doing even less than last game against a better prepared Zerg. I really think that the only option was to go for something different. So it's going to be a bit awkward on Maru's side, but if Ragnarok is, again, kind of hyper-focusing on an expectation, so in the first game, it was probably that it is going to go into the mid-game, 3CC, all that good stuff. Ooh, it's actually getting a little bit spicy. 4th base is going to be denied. So that's nice, and only so much can be picked up in this medevac, especially if it dies, then nothing can be picked up at all. Okay, this actually got kind of spicy on both sides, but an eventual pickup from Maru. But going back to my point, so that last game expectation, maybe more on the macro side, this expectation might be that Ragnarok starts building so many units in, yeah, more of a sub 60 drone count, and then hurts himself. He's hurt himself in confusion and he doesn't even know it.
Pokemon reference. I get that cultural thing. Thank you, ZG. We need Wardy here for that, for me to make something that would actually, or we need to make something that would actually be a good response. But you talk about Ragnarok hurting himself in his confusion. It's a single eBay play. He's going +1 carapace. He really is anticipating that heavy level of aggression, and there's nothing that he's seeing here to tell him different. He does not have vision on that third base. He sees a ton of Marines, and to be totally fair, there are a lot of Marines on the map. There is still damage potential from Maru in this game, but behind this, he's got double eBay. He's got 1-1. He does have that third base. His macro continues to expand. Ragnarok, though, what is that? 11 Banelings morphing in, he does not want Maru to exist on this side of the map. He wants to really force him back home.
And he will. He definitely will. But the question more so is, can he get a counterattack? Because I think he absolutely has to. He has to do damage, basically. He can't just clean this up and then let Maru be back on his side of the map. He's got to do something. And right now, it's very awkward. His Baneling run by, not even do anything currently. He can't go through the supply depots until he tells it to. Oh, Ragnarok. And this is supposed to be actually kind of an easier hold. All right, he is finally going to clean things up. But like I was saying, this can't only be it. He can't only save the fourth base. He's got to go across the map and do something else. The Banelings did eventually crack through the supply depots, but only got 4 SCVs. I'm not even sure they got a whole lot of Marines. Maru still has a decent army supply, and now it's just about holding on, which I think is going to be easy enough. He can hold it home with the current set of units that he has and continue dropping, clearing up some more Banelings. Ragnarok, I do believe, has now realized the situation. But, I mean, it's really quite bad for a Zerg player to, I guess, be at the place that he was. He has fixed it since I kind of started talking up the 71 drones, but that was definitely a different expectation there for Ragnarok.
At the very least for Ragnarok, Maru has not started his 2-2 until right now, so the upgrade advantage is going to be significant for Maru for the remainder of this game, or at least until we get to 3-3 or something, until we max out on upgrades. But it's a little bit better than it could be as Maru again taking advantage of this quick rush distance onto the fourth base. Couple Banelings here though, and one tank is not yet seized, but off creep he goes. That's not where Ragnarok wants to make his expedition. One tank still remains. Maru's stimming in here. We're just seeing the downside of the opener that Ragnarok went for, how not greedy he was. The fourth base does go down. Baneling's looking for a connection, but the tank is gonna knock that one down. Good target fire there from Maru at the end. The Lings now, they continue to fall. 1-1 versus +1. Yeah, there's a Hydrogen finishing up. Sure, thank you, Mapu, but I'm not sure how relevant it will be. This unrelenting pressure from Maru is just so damn impressive right now, ZG. It just doesn't feel like Ragnarok can ever really get a defense that's in any way, shape, or form efficient.
Maru has played out the strategy, I think, brilliantly. He's been the orchestrator to this game, the conductor, there we go, to the game. It's been so brutal for Ragnarok to kind of keep pace when you're trying to keep in mind that even if you were to predict everything accurately, Maru could still beat you. So you are trying to cut some corners a lot of the time and make sure that you're in the exact right mindset.